RMR fans, come here. I mean, I'm in a different place. We're talking about the RMR right after the VRS has finalized all the invites to the major. You know, Harry wanted some contrary opinions. I don't know if we'll get them based on what we talked about before this, but you know, Harry, why are we talking about the RMRs? Because this is not the situation anymore. Why is this the topic now?
It's the topic now because you can't really do a VRS fans come here without me falling asleep during it. So we can't do the VRS of October the Sick fans. So I thought it was a good opportunity to talk about what everyone's very nostalgic about already, which is the RMRs, obviously, because everyone's all the time players going, it's the highest pressure event of the year. It's the most important event of the year. It's like when all our social media would pop off with Bad News Eagles jumping around like lunatics after getting stickers and stuff. So everyone's very nostalgic. But, and there is a but, did it work as a major qualifier? And I think that's an interesting topic. And I think we've got a good guess for that.
Yeah, well, let's hope so.
RichardLewis on. Yeah. We all know that Richard is a big fan of underdog teams making hero runs to the major.
Yeah, if it was heroic, it'd be good. I don't mean the org. I mean, if there was anything heroic about what actually played out. Unfortunately, every time we've had one of the hero runs, it's a shit bedroom organization that fluked a couple of best of ones, dodged good teams when they had to play them potentially in best of threes, and then suddenly they have stickers in the World Championship. And that was the whole reason for their existence. And after one World Championship, where they invariably crash out, Quantum Bellator Fire being an exception to that, they fucking just disappear. They either sell all the players or they fold the organization. So yeah, I think that is shit actually. So
let's get the cards out early.
Yeah,
we do always start with meme slides.
Yeah.
We always start with meme slides, and I've picked it up.
I've only got this tiny little box, so I'm gonna.
It's the VRS defenders.
I'm
getting it up.
Right.
VRS. I've picked the American Revolution here because I think, for
it's
me
topical.
Personally, you know who's on the right side here, basically, and it's not the British, or is it? That's the question. So we've got the Americans as the RMRs fighting for liberty of the underdog, basically. And then it's the VRS defenders, which is basically just the Liquipedia Discord. And they're winning. Because this is ultimately, I think it is, the point with this meme slide is basically that I think this is a philosophical debate of the kind of RMR versus the VRS. Because you're basically looking at, should teams qualify over a season of play? And with everything that comes with that, like the invite bubbles, and people think that that's basically still semi-franchising in terms of which teams get those invites and can keep the kind of base VRS points? Or do you want it to be a complete free-for-all, risking that someone who might have won every event in the season has to turn up and qualify from exactly the same point as everyone else? And we never had that complete universal, everyone starting round one, but that's the kind of philosophical thing. And I think my next slide is the same thing, basically, which is the pros and cons of RMRs. They're the same thing. It just matters what you think. So is it a pro that the big teams can get upset? Because people love it when like G2 missed out on Rio. Everyone loved that, but did it make the major better? And then everyone loves that anyone can make the major. But then the con of that is you might have a 16, like even stage 3 of the major, for example, has a worse team list than Cologne and Katowice pretty much every year, if you just look at ranking. And is that a good thing? Is that showing that Cologne and Katowice are a closed circuit and this is an open circuit?
I mean,
or is it a bad
in
thing?
stage 3 this year, or for this major, and they've not been good this season at all.
Yep.
That's the regional thing. But and then the same thing with the entertainment thing of, do you want the major to be the most fun event of the year, or do you want the qualifier because that's when the stickers happen? Like, no one really cares about stage 1, stage 2.
Neither is the correct answer. I don't want either to be fun. I want them to be a representation of the excellence that's been achieved over the course of the preceding 6 months. That's essentially what the function of all of it is meant to be and was intended to be. And unfortunately, what ended up happening is, I think probably because the community was a little starved of something like a TI, the International, over in Dota for so long, and we've had Valve on record way back in an interview in PC Gamer saying, we would never do something like that for Counter-Strike, which, by the way, these days, if we did do something like that for Counter-Strike, it would eclipse probably every prize pool on the calendar. And then you would see some real life-changing money. But I think that's the problem. I think people got really hung up on the stickers and started saying, oh, but the stickers, it's life-changing money. I don't give a fuck. I personally, as a pundit in the game, don't give a fuck. If it means I have to watch, like, ecstatic, fnatic, you know, like, and I'm talking real bad version of Fnatic, like, you know, a year ago. If I have to watch that for a place in the World Championships, like, something's gone very wrong. And the move to the VRS, even though VRS has not been implemented correctly at all, the move to the VRS was definitely the right thing to do.
I mean, you say that, but here we are watching Fnatic versus 9 at Philadelphia for a spot in the World Championship.
Right, but here's the problem. So that sounds like, got you, Richard. That's ass. But it isn't. Let me tell you why. There's a ton of positives that come from that. So first of all, because they're so desperate to get the VRS points that they need to get into that World Championship ranking, they're having to go out and support local grassroots lands, a big org. And by the way, it comes at a cost. I know people have been going, it's just pay to win. VRS is pay to win. It's like, no, this is exactly what the ecosystem needs. Sustainable organizations losing money, paying money out of their own pockets to another company like Philadelphia, like Draculan, whatever it might be, because they need the points to get into the World Championships. What that does is that rising tide raises all ships, right? Because it's not just money going into Philadelphia. It's, oh shit, like, this might be my only time I get to see Chex Notes, Fnatic. Okay, maybe no one's coming out for that one, but you know what I mean? There will be some people who are like, that's the best team I'm ever going to get to see play, so fuck it, I'll buy a ticket. Philadelphia announced that, record ticket sales. All of a sudden, keep in mind, it's mostly a volunteer crew over there as well. All of a sudden, they can maybe put a bit of money into this, a bit of money into that. They can up their tech. We get a better Philadelphia next time around. There are no negatives that come out of that, except for the people who go, but we couldn't afford to go to Philadelphia. Yeah, welcome to professional sports. It is a have and have-nots industry by definition. That's how that goes.
What do you think of the kind of regional aspect of it? Because the one thing you could say with the RMRs is it does kind of try and ensure that it is the kind of world championship vibe, right? Whereas I think a lot of the North Americans, unfairly or fairly, not saying I agree with them here, is a lot of them are saying basically, the Philadelphia should have been the equivalent of the NA land points. Like, that's where we can get land points because we can't travel to Europe because we're not salary, blah, 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 blah. And maybe in future, there'll be like European lands at the same time and it'll kind of sort itself out. But do you think it's a problem that like these North American teams now just don't even get to the HLTV stage of a lot of these North American lands?
You want to jump on that note?
I mean, I was going to say that it's not like you can't have lands that aren't regional as well. I think the ones in South America are also, I think like the Fergie Rush one was South America regional. So it's definitely an option. Like, you can definitely have regional lands that allow just those kind of teams to play in them. It's just the fact that Philadelphia, especially for something like a land that doesn't get that much attention from the international scene, to have teams like Fnatic and Nip and Liquid coming in, like, that's a big boon to them. So it's in their best interest to offer that as well. So I think you have that. And also, Richard, to touch on something that you were saying before, is that if people haven't noticed this format, like having this VRS structured the way it is, we're seeing these local lands come back in a way that we haven't seen in years.
Yep.
Like the level of the lands themselves, but also the frequency and the types of tournament operators that are coming in to try and host these because they're getting more attention, because it's valuable for teams, is making a big difference in the space. And I think people are kind of missing that, because if this wasn't such an important focus for VRS points for teams, they wouldn't be attending these, and then it wouldn't be in the organizer's best interest to even operate like some of these events. So it's actually making a pretty big difference on that end as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, so for the NA stuff, I've maintained this position, and it hurt Jason Lake's feelings when he heard me utter the words out loud. So I always apologize when I repeat it, because I know it hurts him. He has been Captain America for so many years, desperately trying to hold back the tides of reality in a way. And it's just this simple. NA, right? Far be it from me to talk about American exceptionalism on a Counter-Strike podcast. NA, for some reason, have thought they've had a God-given right to exist and succeed in Counter-Strike since the whole fucking thing began. They were, big drivers back in 1.6. We move into Counter-Strike Source. Obviously, they were the big vocal voices, a lot of them, about CGS and how CGS had to operate and function. They drove us into that. They drove us into CPL prior to that. And then whenever there's been a collapse, they just pack up the lemonade stand, fuck off, leave Europeans and other regions now. Like, South America contributes way more to the Counter-Strike ecosystem than NA in the current world. And we rebuild it for them, and then they go, hey, everyone, we're back, and everyone pops fucking corks and do it. The Americans are back. Like, no, I'm fucking bored of that now. Like, I am actually bored of that bullshit. You are all of the American team owners. You are the people that wanted franchise leagues. You are the people that wanted secret agreements. You are the people that want appearance fees. All of the stuff that we had to live through was your idea, your wet fucking dream. You're the people that started PEA and wanted to exclude players from what tournaments they could participate in just to make more money. You're the people that set up Flashpoint and then refused to contribute to Flashpoint and let it die on its ass. These people are a fucking joke. I'm tired of bailing out the American organizations. I'm tired of watching them min-max. The region that once you went outside of Tier 1, it was rife with match fixing because Canadians figured out legally there was a loophole that meant they could get away with it. Like, no, fuck all of you. Like, I'm good with the rise of Chinese Counter-Strike, actually, to offset North America. I'm good with the rise of Mongolian Counter-Strike. You see, that's the other part to it. American team owners are the owners of excuses. They've made so many excuses as to why they can't run a successful team. It's too expensive. The resources aren't there. There aren't talent in the region. Right, we've got a Mongolian team just recently been the #1 team in the world. What's your excuse? You think they're not running up against hurdles? We've got a Kazakhstan player playing for a fucking top 5 team, a young Kazakhstani. You can't find talent? The excuses don't work anymore. So fuck NA, right? That's my opinion. Fuck NA. We don't need them. When you want to come back and actually contribute, then we'll have a discussion. Until then, go off to Valorant, do whatever it is you do to, and they're fucking that up as well, obviously. Go off to Valorant, do whatever you have to do. You are not missed. If I never saw Cloud9 play Counter-Strike again, I wouldn't shed a tear. Rant over.
I mean, this touches on something that's like, I've always wanted to do a meme article for years now. It's kind of the inverse relationship between how rich a country is and how good its players are. Because you just think, like, if you're a 16-year-old American, or even in the UK or wherever, like, you can go to uni, you can do whatever. You can go get a boring job that pays more. And ultimately, like, there's just not that motivation to do what Donk did and sit for 16 hours in Siberia playing Counter-Strike all day. And ultimately, that's just a problem that we're never really going to be able to fix if you want a really strong NA scene. Like, the culture, it's just different. It's different when it's not all on the line for you as a kid, when you're this prodigy.
I mean, culturally playing in NA as well, it's just, like, the way people approach the game when they're trying to learn is completely different. It's just not beneficial to, like, a team environment whatsoever. It's very individual focused. Like, you go to Europe and you even pug and people are calling strats. They're, like, actually trying to
don't know what pugs you're in.
No. You don't understand. There is a difference. Like,
definitely
even like the slight calls, even if they're not making, like, tactical calls for, like, what to execute, the mid-round comms of, like, what they're holding and, like, what they're, how to play off each other, or, like, what they're about to do. Or if you're in a 2v2, you're going somewhere and you're like, I'm gonna like peek this, come with me. That doesn't happen until you're, like, at the FPL level in NA. Like, once the players have already played pro or semi-pro and they're actually, like, been in teams, you get that at, like, the FACEIT level 10 level, like upper FACEIT level 10 level in Europe. You don't get that as much in NA.
I mean, all you have to do is watch, like, Cooper or Flom or any of the NA streamers and see what they have to deal with. It just doesn't. There isn't a kind of there isn't a desire to be like a soldier in a team, even in a pug. Nobody wants. Sorry, I'm dying here. Nobody wants. I'm choking on my hate for North America Counter-Strike. There isn't anybody that wants to be the bitch in a team. There's nobody that ever accepts that maybe their conceptualization of Counter-Strike is incorrect. There's nobody that wants to listen to a call they disagree with. It is pretty much baked into the American Counter-Strike player's psyche that whatever they want to do at any time they want to do it is always the right play, no matter what. And I've talked about this with, I've talked to all the great IGLs down the years. And it's like, what is the biggest barrier to success in a North American Counter-Strike team? And they all say the same thing. It is trying to corral youngsters to listen to them. And it is so hard to achieve in that region specifically. Now, I'm not saying, by the way, like Donk isn't like that. Donk might very well be like that, right? I mean, I actually think, I don't give Donk any more passes now. He's 18, he's an adult. I don't give him a pass for his bullshit, which, by the way, he says outright. He says things that if Cadian had said them, like that we'd be burning fucking torches, you know what I mean, and going up to the windmill to get him. He says he does this all the time. I think his attitude kind of stinks. I also strongly suspect behind the scenes, he's a much bigger voice in Spirit than people give credit for. And pretty much, I think we're going to reach a point in Spirit where if they continue to underachieve, your career is essentially going to be beholden to whether or not you can appease this star player that they have. But anyway, that's a sidebar topic. The bottom line is, like, when you look at European talent and their desire to listen and be mentored and develop, it's a far greater culture in Europe than it is in North American Counter-Strike. And we've seen the results of that. How many times has there been a North American wonder kid touted as being like, he's got so much potential? They never live up to the potential. Why? Because it's only potential. And the thing about unlocking potential is it's very hard to unlock it yourself. You need guidance and input. And if you don't listen, you can have an open mouth and an open mind, but if your ears are fucking closed, then no information goes in and you just turn out to be a really good pug player, which is 90% of American talent.
And if we swing this back towards the RMR topic, then what do you make of the final team list then with, the American teams, but also like how the overall team list is shaped up with Europe and Asia?
Well, I mean, overall, I can't argue with it because I do believe in the system, like as crazy as that sounds. I don't think it was like, put it this way, when I used to look at the RMRs and I used to look at the teams that used to win, and I used to watch all of the bullshit that went on in the RMRs, we seem to forget we had an entire regional RMR that was fixed. Like, there was a team blatantly cheating in it. And and the other teams just had to tank it. Nothing was really done except a delayed E6 sanction that came down the lines. We never really got to the bottom of what happened there or what the mechanism is through that. The RMRs were objectively terrible. And as I said multiple times, every RMR seemed to have some fluke team, at least one, that got through to a world championship, which I don't want. I look at these teams here, which I've got in front of me now, I'm pretty comfortable with all of that. I can't argue with it. The teams that maybe you go, I'd swap them out for this team. Yeah, but they went to the smaller lands. They paid their dues. You know what I mean? So I feel pretty good about this, actually.
And I think there was a tweet. I can't remember who it was. It was ETE. I don't know his actual in-game name, but it was a good tweet, and it was basically saying VRS means teams now have to invest in the whole season. You can't bank on the RMR anymore. You have to have a team that is consistently good. And like fnatic, like they've reached their kind of land wins cap like months ago, and they just kept going, however low the chances were. They kept going to all these events until eventually the talent of their players just made it so they did deserve the point. And I think if you're in an RMR system, it's the one-off that I never liked about it. And I think that's why a lot of people like it, which is why I think it's a philosophical thing, really. But what if your best player's sick? Like the day before the RMR, it's not your fault. Like you just get ill from the plane on the way to the RMR, and then you just lose, and your whole season and however much sticker money that your team was banking on having, like that's a very different scenario to when Astralis missed the first major of this year, when they had consistently bad results over multiple events, and then dropped out of the VRS ranking. Like you have to be so much worse to lose that invite as the season goes on under VRS, and I think that's just a much fairer system. If sticker money is going to be this be-all thing, then
I'll even give you something else, right? Any system that produces like a list that doesn't have Virtus Pro, that works for me.
Well, I think that's the Swedish border office that you've got to thank then, because I think they're going to make it if they didn't have that. Listen,
whatever it takes so I don't have to watch them play Counter-Strike anymore. I'm very happy about that. Used to love Virtus Pro. The Counter-Strike they've played in the build-up to Rio and ever since, under 2 different IGLs, has been a disgrace. It's a disgrace to the brand, disgrace to the great name and the great players that have represented Virtus.pro historically. So hopefully this is their, Astralis-like wake-up call for them to, actually really shake up the team and, start heading in the right direction again. But, I mean, look, I looking at the list, the people that are going to be participating in Stage 1, I mean, I am pretty happy with that. I think, by the way, as well, to all the people out there who are going, oh, we don't get the underdogs anymore. I mean, you've got, like, the Huns. You've got M80. You've got FlyQuest. You've got, like, Red Canids from Brazil. I mean, like, how fucking low do you have to go on the underdog fucking scale to not think there are underdogs in this VRS? But they're underdogs that did the work. They're not underdogs that basically assembled a shit team of mercenaries for one event. Like I call it the TSM play. I mean, TSM have been in and out of Counter-Strike. They're barely a functional org these days. And every time TSM would announce and it would be on Reddit, yay, TSM. Remember TSM? Like, no, I don't give a fuck. Like, I genuinely don't. I think them cynically putting a team together to try and fluke their way into some sticker money is gross. I think it sucks. I think that isn't good for the sport. I think having put it this way, having an in and out TSM compared to having a stable M80, I know which I'd rather have for the scene. It's not even close. Like, I like M80. I think they've done really, really well with very little resources. Solid branding, good management. Give me more of them.
People also like to romanticize the RMRs a lot when they look back on all of these runs, but I feel like they forget the 2 big topics that always came up with RMRs. One being that for some reason it just became more important than the major because players just want stickers. And it completely ruins half the hype going into the major because you have so much more attention and so much more focus around the RMRs, and you have players who are playing in, playoffs of the biggest events who are now fighting for a spot in the major. That's 1. 2, the RMRs would also have those same BO1s that people are so mad about at the major that it would completely ruin the starting matches, and you would have teams fluke wins. And then, for quite a long period as well, we had teams' Swiss results deciding which stage of the major that they would play at. So it was like issue compounded upon issue upon issue. And it was just the system for so long that people fell in love with this idea that any team could make it and it's so cool and romantic. But in reality, we're not so far removed from the fact that you have teams that are underdogs still making it, like you were touching on earlier. Like, you have a lot of these stage 1 teams are teams that, could get these kind of upset wins at the major, which again is also still BO1 matches in the early rounds.
Yeah, so which has got to go.
It's not like it's
we're all agreed on that. I mean, that's stupid.
But the other thing people forget is it's a 32 team major now. Like,
yep.
Like if you're not in a list of 32 teams over a season, like that's a lot of teams. It's kind of the Infantino approach to majors, and I don't think I even like that. Like I think you'd get some of the hype of RMRs back if you kind of split the financial reward a bit more between the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Like if the stickers were different in some way or something, where you only got the really cool stickers, or like maybe you got your signature in stage 3 and that was more of a like prestige thing. Because then you have that really hype emotional storytelling during the major instead of at a random event before it. And I think that's just the main thing is with the 32 team is like just qualify. Just when people used to say just win your games to like G2 who've lost the best of 1 on a map they never play.
Well,
just win your games. Just win your games across the season. Like
but that was always the
device.
stupidest argument, right? That was what people used to do. It was like if a big team lost in a best of 1, right? The argument prior, it's like quantum argumentation, which the community does all of the time. Like trash talk good because, oh, look, Senzu did some trash talk. Wow, he like me for real, for real, for real. Oh, Cadian's called someone a noob. Right, well, let's quickly scan the rule book to see if we can have him disqualified. Yeah, it's hugely disrespectful. Oh, I bet it really hurt his feelings. Oh, fuck off. Right, so quantum argumentation used to happen about this, underdog, overdog situation whenever. So if G2 win, right, we go, best of ones, man. We shouldn't. Why do we have best of ones? G2 lose a best of one, right? We all agree anyone can lose a best of one in high-level Counter-Strike. There's so many variables to account for, particularly as people don't even play their best maps in a best of one. You meet like in a handshake map where you think you might have the edge, but the other team's like, we actually played this a little bit. So you are more prone to get upsets in a best of one scenario anyway because of how a veto fucking plays out. But anyway, as soon as G2 lose, just win. Just win your games. So what if it's a best of one? Just win. It's like, bro, you were on the other side of the timeline just fucking 5 minutes ago. But that's the Counter-Strike community in a nutshell. Like, they are morons, unfortunately. It just sucks.
I mean, the thing I hate most about the format is it's not even just the best ones in isolation. It's the fact that you play 2 in one day. So, like, having a favorite team who has probably never had to prep for some of these teams ever in their life, like have 4 hours to prepare for the most gimmicky team you've ever seen. But like that is the equivalent of getting, a Premier League team to play against a League Two team on a muddy pitch or something.
Less half the time though, because if you're one of the first teams that play, the draw happens, and then you're probably playing the next match after the draw. So you have maybe an hour and a half once you know your actual opponent.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just bonkers.
I'm like you. I think excellence has to be sustained. And if excellence is sustained, then a reward is appropriate for that. And the reward, of course, is you're in the top 32 teams, and you will be going to the major, and you will get the sticker money. Not because you improved your roster for one tournament, not because you came back and decided to risk $100,000 on an investment to maybe make $3 million back, because you actually contributed to the scene, you played well, and you won hearts and minds as well as VRS points. That's how the system should function. I know the reality, unfortunately, there has been a ton of problems with it since its inception. I'm not under any illusion about VRS being perfect, right? I'm not saying that. It just is a much better system than the RMR. And it's like, look, me and Onapixel have obviously like buried the hatchet. I took issue with him. What my perception was essentially trying to exploit a loophole to get his face on a sticker in the game. We obviously have met and talked about it, and he's given me his side of it. And you know what? He's a nice guy. He's a good guy, and he sort of also was kind of a little bit oblivious to how it could have been perceived by people like me, old heads that like fucking want to gatekeep a little bit and make sure Counter-Strike stays in a good place. So, we hugged it out. We were drinking. We flew home together. It was all cool. But ultimately, it is good that door has been closed, in my opinion, because, he's saying now he misses co-streaming the RMR because, it was a bigger event and people tuned in and it was more hype. And it's like, yeah, we can't really change our formats on that basis. That doesn't meet the threshold for why we would change back to the RMRs. Like the VRS is definitely a better system. It's definitely the way forward. I just don't really see, and any of the argumentation against it just seems to be rooted in feels, not reals, and I can't really do that.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that, but I think it's one of those questions where I think there is a balance between every match being a best of 5 with a day break between the compared to the fully romantic side of you want the highest stakes all the time. And it's the same reason like group stages should be double or triple elimination. And I think it's the same kind of logic, is that when you're trying to qualify teams to the next stage, it's okay to have lower stakes.
Yeah.
And I think qualifying to an event as important as the major, like that should not be the highest stakes match of the year. It just shouldn't be, because that's not what the point of the qualifier is. The point of the qualifier is to have the best teams in the world at the major. And yes, we miss the emotional kind of climax of those moments, but is it worth it to have a worse major? Like, because some of those majors at the end, like Paris, it's just I just look at the team list and it's just worse than a Cologne. And I can't, and it's so romantic and it's so amazing to have the stories, but I kind of want those underdog stories to be earned. So like even Passion UA or whatever, in China it was, Like that was more fun,
Yeah.
even though it was the RMR still, because you could see the kind of grind in that and how many games they played online in tier 2. Like it's those stories I find more interesting, and I think VRS rewards those stories much more than someone like Bowdy's Eagles, who would not give a fuck for every CCT, lose in the group stage all the time, and then just turn up at the RMR and have some gimmicky plays. Like I think I'd much rather the kind of first fairy tale to the second one.
Yeah, agreed.
It also rewards teams that are like a little more aim based, because if you're just on that day, you could just fluke some of those wins. Like Bad News Eagles was kind of a big example of that, because they would win off aim a lot rather than actually catching teams with strategies, and that was like visible in their game. They would be making plays that wouldn't really make sense sometimes, get away with it because, you know, Juan Fletcheru had some insane games, Rion had some great games, so then you get those results, but it wouldn't actually be like anything consistent, and that would show down the line once they would actually get to the major. But also, like, let's play a bit devil's advocate in that sense then.
Okay.
Could we not have a major system where the top 16 are invited directly based on VRS, and then you have the next 16, now there's 32 teams, playing regional RMRs of some sort, or maybe even 24 teams invited, and then you have the last 8 spots decided by regional RMRs. So you still have a little bit of that story, and you're giving the teams that don't quite make the major cut, so the ones that are, you know, on the 33 to 48 range or whatever, able to play in some of those regional RMR type matches, and there's still a little bit of that Cinderella story.
I mean, I would hate it less if we went back to 24. I think if you do it as 16 across 3 regions, there'd be too much variance as to how many shit teams could effectively sneak through.
It's the pain thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And
so that's why I think the 24 team or the expansion of 32 teams has helped that, though, because now it actually gives an argument for letting that kind of thing happen.
Well, see, this is the other point that, again, the RMR suckers don't fucking take into account, right? They go, oh, but, like, you've got to spread the wealth. We expanded it to 32. That's spreading the wealth. Like, you know, what more do you want? It's not, you know, we've found a way to spread the wealth in a much more consistent and meaningful way. More teams get to come to the major now. Oh, you're not one of them? Boo fucking who? You know, like... Yeah, like, so I mean, that's kind of how I feel about that. And to your suggestion, I think, like, you know, if we absolutely have to have a shit team at the major, right, to make it magical, right, why don't we just do 31 slots, and then we have a 128 scrub team qualifier where it's the winner gets to go to the major as the shit team. And everybody knows that's what it's for. We call it the shit team qualifier. Listen to me meeting people halfway on this one. They call it the shit team qualifier. You will be labeled the shit team at the major. Your logo has to be the poop emoji, but you get to go to the major. Let's do that then. Let's all
be best of one the whole way.
Yeah, only best of ones. No, not a BO3 in sight.
Play it online.
It's all online.
Only pistol rounds.
It's all online. Everyone's using radar hack. Let's go. Like, so why not? I mean, like, this is how you poke and prod at the structural integrity of an argument, because it's like, if you genuinely are one of the people who believe that there has to be like a true underdog team, you would absolutely take me up on my idea, but you won't. You will. What Richard's engaging in here is extreme rhetoric. No, you're the one engaging in extreme rhetoric, because you're saying we have to construct the entirety of our scene to get more like underdogs there because it makes it hype. Look at them crying. Are they crying because they're going to the World Championship, or crying because they've just made $1 million? If you're crying because you've made $1 million, fuck you. If you're crying because you're going to compete against the best, all right, cool. But that, like, the sticker money shouldn't, for me, again, as a purist, the sticker money shouldn't eclipse the excellence, the achievement. That's what you should be emotional about, right? You know, and say what you will about Donk, and obviously I'm not a fan of the ridiculous things he says on a regular basis. He actually has said, you know, even in winning tournaments, like, I thought maybe I would quit, and obviously it's just like teenage emo bullshit, but it's like it shows that he has a drive. It's not about nickels and dimes for him. It's not about prize money. It's about being the best ever. So absolutely, you got to pick a role model. I'll take that over the guys that are like, oh, I've just got a sticker in the game. I made $1 million. Hey, Mom, I've got a sticker. Like, fuck you.
Harry, what do you make of the 2014 straight invite and then RMR for the other slots?
I like the idea, but I kind of agree that it's just kind of appeasing. Like and I also think a lot of these fans who love the RMR and are nostalgic about the RMR, they're not really nostalgic about what we're talking about. I think there's a little bit going on here. It's not that Bad News Eagles made it that they love. It's the Bad News Eagles beat G2 to make it, for example. And I think if you take the top teams out of the RMR, I think people just won't watch it. It'd be the same as Philadelphia. They have 10k viewers because it would be ecstatic v fnatic for the last spot, and that's fine.
That's the point. To be a true underdog, you have to beat a big team. If you only play shit teams, you're just the best of the shit. That doesn't have the same whimsical allure, does it, as like them beating G2? I think you're onto something there. I think people remember the hype moments rather than the entirety of the tournament, which are at times excruciating. Like, I'm looking at some of the past RMRs and some of the games that we had to watch, and it's like, oh my God, like, I actually feel sick. Like, this is unbelievable that these games happened for a world championship. You know what I mean? It's just so crazy.
You're preaching to the choir, Richard, because usually we're the ones sitting there covering the news posts on these matches too.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Writing match reports on Bait v Apex.
At the time of recording this, right, I'm looking at the front page at HLTV, right? We've got Sashi versus Johnny Speeds, right? Which has a total of 1,000 people watching. That would be the RMR. That's what people want, apparently. That's what people want. So if you want that, cool. If you want that for your world championship, great. If you want Mouse Guitars versus Big Academy, which, by the way, that wouldn't even be allowed to happen, I imagine. But, if you want that, cool. I don't. I want to make it absolutely clear. I don't.
Something I wanted to mention earlier when we were talking about Fnatic going to the lands and, it being like pay to win.
Yeah.
Number one, there's this figure quoted about like how much it costs for them to fly out there and absorb the cost of going to Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Something's kind of weird about that number. I think it was like 30,000 or some 40,000.
Wasn't it 32?
Those players were flying business, like 100%. Like if you do the calculations for each flight and a hotel stay, it just doesn't add up for it to be 30K.
Maybe you're onto something here. It is why Cypher got cut. It's the hotel expense bill or something, and that's why it's 32K. Or they just hired one DJ from HTV forums.
Hang on, right? Let's
maybe I'm wrong.
Let's. So where did they fly to and from? Let's forensically break this down. Right, where did they fly to and from?
Do the Ukrainians still live in Ukraine?
I'm not sure.
I'm gonna guess no.
Well, it's Europe, isn't it? It's 5 European flights.
Right, so it's Europe to NA. So it's a transatlantic flight, almost certainly. Right. So right. So you're doing a transatlantic flight. Even coach, if you fly economy, right, that's still like, $1,000, 1,200 each, right?
Yeah.
Now it's not just 5 players neither, right? They'll fly out probably managers. So there'll be a coach and a GM, maybe a girlfriend or two, right? That happens. Let's say they send 8
did the
people.
Calculation too.
Let's say they send 8 people, and let's call that $9,000, right?
Yeah.
Then you've got a hotel stay for those 8 people, right? Which how long was Philadelphia? Just a weekend.
I think it was a Thursday to Sunday.
But you get there Wednesday, obviously at the latest, and maybe you go Tuesday, so you get an extra day to acclimatize. So you're going to be there for like 5 days, right? So, and then technically, I mean, because don't you have to, if you want a late checkout, that could go to 6, but let's say 5. Well, what's 5 days stay in a hotel? I mean, is that $1,000 each as well?
Yeah, I'd say like $200 to $300 a day. So
yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's conceivable for me without. It's
conceivable.
Class. I also know transatlantic business class. Yeah, I mean, it is like, you're getting $3,000 plus whenever I've like flown it. So
yeah,
Not that this is
We'll
obviously the most boring. Yeah, this is the most boring part of the podcast. It's just
this is beside the point. But the point being
ticket costs.
that when
a new segment.
When people are saying that it's pay to win, like it doesn't always cost $30K to go to a LAN. Is kind of my end point.
No, yeah.
Like, number one,
you could like do all sorts of min maxing if you're a smaller team.
Yeah.
You know, you can like have players share a room. Far from ideal, but it used to be the way we did things back in the day. It cut costs. You know, when I was a manager, you know, I had to bunk with a player. It was as simple as that.
Yeah, like the Brazilians saying like 1 or 2 rooms with 6 people or something.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you just have to do what you have to do to get to the event. And, you know, you're assigned a budget, and then you've got to spend it as efficiently as you can. You know, that's how we used to roll back in the day. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Paying like 32 grand sounds like a lot just to go to a small LAN in North America. But, I mean, with all the perks of the players and everything else, I could sort of believe it. I also don't know what kind of contractual shit they've got going on. Ari girlfriend.
32 grand's a lot for a DJ on HLTV as well.
Also true. True.
But this is the same thing we were saying earlier. Right?
So one thing, Harry, is that on another note is that you also mentioned them maxing out the LAN win category. Like, it is not pay to win that you just go to LANs and you just farm points because you're at a LAN. It's in a sense that teams that never attend LANs, yes, they're going to get a big jump in points when they go to a LAN, because that's kind of the essence of it. You're not able to just farm points online and make it into the top 30. That's literally how this is designed, and to prevent that. But when you have that LAN stat maxed out, which Fnatic did, you're losing points. You're losing a lot of points if you're losing to a team that's ranked well below you. So I think if you looked at their actual opponent network and the matches they lost like 30 or 40 points for losing to a team that was ranked below them, but then they're beating teams around their rank or even slightly above, and they're getting 10, 12, 14. So the amount of time it takes to claw back those points actually makes a really big difference. And those kind of things are honestly where going to these lines and getting those reps in makes a difference, because you're playing against these teams and that's your chance to get that back. So it's not just that you go to LANs and it's kind of pay to win, free entry into the majors. And in that sense also, in a way, the RMRs do exist, it's just not one event. There's like 4 LANs that you're going to and all of them matter, and it is a regional clash. Like you saw the Birch Cup had like 9 there, they had OG, like all these teams that technically would be the EU RMR teams are fighting for a spot at the major, and that's how it worked out in the end as well.
Yeah.
So it does exist. It's just not one event.
Yeah, I think it's a fluke this time around. I'm hoping it'll be very boring next time, just because I think people have got a bit too excited with the Philadelphia situation is just like, it's just 1 in a million, really. Is it the 4 teams in the semifinals and whoever wins the tournament qualifies? Like, that's just not going to happen again.
Yes.
So the fact people are still nostalgic for RMRs, even having that, I think just kind of proves the point of it's about the big teams, not the small teams, when people talk about it.
Yeah, it is, and you know, look, I just think like everything that we've laid out there, I'm just astounded at like the fact anybody can think the RMR was like the way to go. Like, I mean, we knew there was something wrong with the RMRs while we were watching the RMRs. Like, everyone was calling for the RMRs to be abolished. Like, that's how I remember it. I mean, certainly from my vantage point, that seemed to be what was happening. Like, we all said, this can't go on. I mean, as I said, when we did the CIS regional RMR, that was when I was done forever with the RMRs at that point. You know, like having this team that was ranked 150th or whatever suddenly not just beaten RV, but like neutralize Simple to have his worst ever performance. You know, fucking take a map off Gambit and nearly beat them or whatever it was. Beat Virtus Pro. It's like, yeah, I don't know. We've got problems here. Like, this really is unsustainable.
And if you just read out what it stands for as well, like it was never supposed to be one event. Mm-hmm. That was the whole point. Is that even that Akuma one was one of multiple RMRs. So it's like the ones people love so much, but it was never the intention. It was an accident, really.
Yeah, it's weird as well, like how it kind of like we let it evolve into what it did. Like, it's like you say, you know, we call it an RMR, but like if you actually say the words out loud, regional major ranking, it's like what we had was glorified qualifiers for bad teams with a bad format. I mean,
It was like a knock-on effect of going into COVID as well
Yeah.
when they tried to implement the system. So it's you have these multiple events that are supposed to award ranking points towards the major, but then you couldn't have majors. So you had all of these teams accruing points online, and it kind of defeated the whole purpose of Valve's original idea, I think.
Well, that's where
Because now the VRS is kind of like the end-all implementation of what they were trying to do in the end. It's that all events matter rather than these 4 events before them, like over the course of the season.
Well, that was where like we had really weird shit. Like I'm trying to remember specifically what it was. I'm just like opening Wikipedia now, but like, what was that online event we had where it was in chat? It was IEM
Beijing online.
Yeah, IEM Beijing, but it was in Europe. Haidan, yeah, that was like ridiculous.
My favorite was like IEM Beijing North America online.
Yeah. It was like,
that was just incredible.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
See.
I'm here. I'm in the COVID. I'm in the COVID times now. Let's see. Did it count as a? No, it didn't count. I don't think it's not on that list. It's not an S tier event. Whatever. Fuck it. It was trash anyway. It was a stupid time. You know, actually, and you're definitely right. We're still paying a legacy cost for COVID now in fucking 2025. Just in terms of format, broadcasts. You know how the circuit operates. Like, I thought we pivoted well, but the whole point of a pivot is you eventually have to pivot back, right? But we sort of never did. Whatever.
And touching on the team list, I mean, Harry has one of the slides. I think it has Gentlemates on it, if I'm not mistaken. But that's obviously a team that missed out on making the major this time around because they had, like, if you go by the ranking right now, they would qualify, but obviously they didn't have enough points by the ranking cutoff, I think. And that is just a knock-on effect of them not having enough points before this actually all happened. Like they're getting these points because they played at EPL and they played well, but when you have a late resurgence and this deadline is known months out, it's been known for so long, and people are now reacting as if they deserved it the whole time, when really it's the last few months that they've finally started getting that upturn. It's just too late.
I've got a sign for this.
That's not their fault.
That I always tap when this type of argument comes up. All deadlines are arbitrary but must be adhered to. There it is.
Do you know, the one thing I would rather it be is the one thing I didn't like about this system is basically how often I'm on Twitter, because there's no real way to work out who's going to make it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it would be a better system if at the start of each season, everyone was reset to 0 and there was just a major ranking leaderboard of points. And you look at that and it's very obvious where people are. Like, Mischief is amazing. I love Mischief, but I don't want to have his notifications on for his tweets for the rest of my life because I just don't care enough. I only care in the RMR.
I will say this: like,
Valve
presented that they were building like this incredible ranking system, and what they gave us was a fucking algorithm, and they said, just figure it out yourselves. And basically, if messioso didn't exist, I don't know where the fuck we'd be. Like he appears to be the only person hard enough on the spectrum to understand the VRS ranking play. And I say that with absolute pure love in my heart. He's the guy. The fact Valve haven't hired him yet is a disgrace. But like, I look at that, right? I'm obviously a moron when it comes to numbers, and I can't do it. I'm like, when he explains it to me, I still don't get it. But if I ever have a VRS question, I message Messi. I say, yo, should this be how it is? And he'll say, no, it should be like this, actually. And I'll go, why? And he'll, and it's like my brain just goes, cool. I know the right answer, but I don't know how I arrived at the right conclusion. Thanks, Messi. See you next time. So, yeah, he's the only guy, I think, in the whole scene that really can look at it and sort of interpret where it's going to go and who's going to win and who's going to get the points and who should have been here and why you can't cancel that tournament or move that qualifier. It's like, it's actually staggering how competent he is when it comes to VRS and how incompetent everyone else is. So why Valve haven't hired him, I don't know. Give that man a job. Let him be the commissioner of the VRS system. And let him wield the fucking terrible power. Like, I'm about it.
I mean, the other thing is, it seems like teams are catching on now, I think. But you need someone to understand the VRS in your team, like whether it's management or it's someone who's like dedicated to reaching outside, whatever. But you need to have an understanding of the system to be able to actually make a bid to qualify, especially if you're one of these teams on the fringe. and not, a stable top 10, top 15 team, you should have someone that you're even contracting to at least give you an understanding of how you could make the major by, playing what lands you have to go to, how many events you should attend, those kind of things. Like, this is stuff that teams should be tracking. And I think we're starting to see it a little bit now, but it's something that's only just catching on. And I think that's going to really change over the next year. Like, you're seeing teams like, this, I don't know if you saw this whole Hotu situation where they fielded an extra stand-in, or they switched up their roster
sub-manager
in an online
and
match
coach,
so that their core VRS lineup wouldn't be affected because it's not actually playing in the match. So they lost no points for losing or forfeiting. Harry, I'm not sure. I'm at EPL, so I haven't read into it 100%.
Yeah, because they only had 2 of their roster.
I hate it. I hate it when people exploit loopholes, but then I also have another sign that I tap. It's on the tournament organizers to close the loopholes, isn't it? So,
it's because
I have a sign I tap for myself every time I feel myself emotionally getting carried away with it.
If ESL Challenger League didn't let you have about 8 subs, like, obviously it wouldn't happen with it. So it's just one of those things with those online leagues. But Norbert gets it.
They probably should look at that, honestly, moving forward, because it does seem to be a way. And, like, listen, obviously I can't stand ESL, right? So, not to put you guys in a weird spot. If you do what you do, I can't stand them. I think they're a net negative for the space right now. But anyway, ESL could suffer greatly because of this. Because, ESL have this, like, thing where it's like you are obligated to attend their events, right? No matter what else you want to do, you have to go to these ESL events. You might get penalized if you don't, as we've seen with, like, Limvision and everything that's going on at the moment. And basically, you could make the argument now, okay, we'll go to your event, but we're going to not field our, like, core. We're going to have to, like, add some people in. They're fatigued. We're giving them a holiday, etc., etc. That would greatly diminish the quality of ESL events, Whereas, like, if they were doing it to, like, a PGL event, for instance, I think PGL would just be like, well, we're still happy for you to be here, Like, ESL seem to be really acerbic in how they're applying a lot of their rules right now.
But this is exactly what happened with EPL and FaZe, right? Is FaZe turned up with only 2 players from the invited roster, and because ESL have a rule, like, it's not a Valve rule, it's an ESL rule,
it
means they can't play. Whereas I think CAC, VP are turning up and they're only going to have 2 players because their invited roster has Flamus in it, it has Icy in it, and it has Electronic in it.
It's a good point, because we've seen
PGL are fine with that.
Yeah, we've seen the PGL are fine with it. Yeah, and we've seen the knock-on effect of what it does to ESL. Like, by the way, I'll say this: it's definitely on FaZe to know the rules. But it's also what is crazily incompetent about what happened there. What should worry everybody is FaZe went to the media day, and so how it works at ESL tournaments, you have your players and management on site. You go there a day early for media and I think, like, SSD setup and all that stuff, and then basically nobody from ESL told them, oh, like, you need Rain on the roster. Had they done that, Rain could have flown in that day and would have been ready to play. So, it's really crazy. I did reply to Messi on my tweet. Fortunately, it didn't blow up because I'm sure everyone would have hated me for saying it. But I said, like, look, it's like ESL can be unbelievable. Like, they notice everything. Thinking about attending a PGL event, boom, they're on top of you. Like, well, if you do that, you may have the forfeit. If you miss the media day, they've got that on lock. They have that absolutely locked down. But, like, go to their event with an invalid roster. Hey, what's up? Hey, Jacob, you suck. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that they kind of allowed that to happen, and it affected FaZe in a negative way. One of their partnered teams, by the way. If you're business partners, yes, FaZe have a responsibility, but you can also help your partners out by reminding them of key rules and key points. Of course, mysteriously, all the threads about ESL's fuck-up just disappeared from Reddit, which is always an interesting phenomenon I've observed of a lot. Like how those threads critical of any of their broadcasting fuck-ups just seem to mysteriously get downvoted. But what do I know? It's not like the Saudi Arabian guys are notorious for botting.
But I mean, yeah, from what you were saying earlier as well, is that yes, the end fault is on FaZe because they are the ones who are attending the tournament.
Yeah, you got to know. You got to know the rules.
Yeah,
you got to be shit hot on the rules. Like, I don't dispute that.
But it is very clear that on ESL's end, stuff fell through the cracks, and they did not realize until literally the match day, which is it's a big oversight from a organizational standpoint for ESL, and that also should never have happened. But Richard, I mean, I'm not sure if you've ever seen our previous episodes.
I have watched some of them, but I will say this: not a regular viewer in the sense that some of the topics I'm just like, because yours is a topic-themed podcast. It's like Joe Rogan. If I don't like the guest, I'm going to skip. I'm going to give that one a miss. If he's interviewing one of his fucking comedian buddies again, that's a miss. If Dave Smith's on there, it's a miss. I'm good, right? But he's had a pretty good run lately. We've had Charlie Sheen, Matthew McConaughey. All right, I'm back in, and that's kind of how I feel about your, obviously I'm on this one. This is a Matthew McConaughey episode, so.
The click through.
So in that case, that at the end of the episodes, we like to delve into some HLTV forum threads.
Yes.
Now,
unfortunately, this is going to be a first for me. I have never posted, by the way, on HLTV in the history of my life. I have an account because I use it for the co-streaming thing. That account, I remember I negotiated setting it up. I said, guys, I know we all apparently hate each other, but can I have an account on HLTV to announce co-streaming? And I think Striker and Prof both said, oh, yeah, no problem with that. And then when I went to look at a forum thread, while logged in, I noticed my account had been instantly banned for 10 years. So I've never posted on HLTV in the history of my life, and I can't, even if I wanted to, which I don't. So.
This would always be a good, those YouTube videos where they get people to not make accounts and reply. We should just make the guests do that to all of Note's random forum threads.
Yeah, I think so.
Have them make them type the replies out.
Okay,
that's the way we do it.
So hit me with these threads. What have you got for me?
So here's the unfortunate part: is that there aren't any RMR specific threads that I found, just because it's not the direct topic.
There's one that says here, VRS update, great idea.
All right.
So
okay,
that's kind of relevant.
Richard's finding the threads. I like this. Yeah. I like this. Is this on the front page?
It's
on the front page at the moment as I'm looking at it.
I've just sent it to you on Discord.
Oh, lovely. Okay, let's see. So we have VRS update, great idea. And this one says, if a way higher placed team, first of all, it's by Kitty Bald Ear with a Saudi Arabian flag.
Always good.
Who loves Ziwu.
Yeah.
And it says, if a way higher placed team plays a lower one, the higher placed team can barely gain any VRS. How about we allow the better teams to play a 4v5 to both even out the odds for gambling sides and VRS win-loss? It would be revolutionary for the game.
It's the guy that invented the RMR format, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's hand advantages to underdogs because that's how it should be. Cosmically, I guess.
And it makes betting better, apparently.
I mean, it wouldn't. It would do the exact opposite. Because, what betting, what gambling sites want is obviously predictability. They want predictable outcomes. So, okay, it might not affect the game per se. It might not affect the immediate odds of the game, but people bet on who's going to qualify for the VRS. I can place a bet 6 months in advance with a sports book and say, I think this team will qualify for the major. What are the odds you're going to give me on that? They're going to give me some odds. If you have a system like this where all they need is one underdog win to get propelled forward, it's going to be a bloodbath for the gambling side, so it wouldn't actually help them at all. All it would do
zero upvotes, to be fair. Zero upvotes.
Yeah, zero upvotes. You have an upvote. You have an upvote system on HLTV. That's lame. Also,
no downvotes though.
Having to have
only
your
positivity.
Having to have your Steam account on there as well. I'm good actually. I don't need that. Don't need that in my life.
And your face at level 10. Got to get that.
Betting sites like predictable outcomes. Have they potentially talked to Northern Lights or Senza?
There's a reply there, and it just says, "Donate brain to science, please." That's pretty good.
Honestly, the comment replies to some of the bad threads is the highlight.
I've told you, I used to do this bit on By the Numbers back in the day. My favorite HLTV threads, and there's not as many of them these days, are where total morons attempt. By the way, look, I'm under no illusion. Reddit is the website where idiots go to LARP as intellectuals, and HLTV is the forum where intellectuals go to LARP as morons, right? Like, that has always been true. It was ever thus. It remains true to this day. Although I will say the caliber of troll on HLTV has really gone down in recent years. I kind of miss the glory days, but whatever. Anyway, what I really like in HLTV is when idiots come from all over the world to discuss the most high-level philosophical conundrums of our time. Those are the best threads. You know, you'll see a thread in HLTV, why God is real, proof inside. And you will, I'm in. I am all in for that. I will watch that, read that rather all day.
This is why we need to lift your forum down so you can contribute to these topics.
Well, it's enabling off topic. That's why. It's off topic is now not shown on the front page. You have to click a button to see the off topic threads. That's why.
Yeah, and look, also, the other thing I like about HLTV forums is when Chad is in there fucking arguing with people. Go on, son. Get in there. I saw him taking on the Turkish fan base the other day. Fucking what a legend. I love him. So fight the good fight, my man.
Yeah, I've seen him in a few threads before that I've randomly scrolled for the show, and I'm surprised because I only go through HLTV forums purely for this show, and it's already enough mental damage to me. So voluntarily going through it on your own part to reply to people is a choice for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, I was saying that it was a little difficult to find threads. However, what I did do is I went through our news posts instead for when the major invite lists were finalized, and just looked at a few comments for that. And I mean, the first one we kind of touched on. It says it's by Leet Better with an O, with a European flag, who loves Silver Elite.
Right.
With 98 upvotes, and it says Gentlemates passing stage 1 of Tier 1 tournament and beating Vitality, no major. Fnatic beating NA bots, OG, and 9, yes major. God, the VRS is so terrible, it's unbelievable.
Did anything else happen? That's all I have to ask. Like, or is that it? Did anything else happen? Maybe in the build-up to those occurrences, perhaps? Like maybe approximately 5 months? Yeah, no. Gentlemates, they fucking morphed into existence. They just came into being like some bodhisattva sent back through, time to help the human race. They turned up, played well at the Tier 1 tournament, beat Vitality. Can I has major, please? Like, is that it, right? Nothing else went on, right? Like, they didn't get 13th to 16th at the Birch Cup. They
to be fair, they had to forfeit a match there. But yeah, they lost one.
That sounds like an occurrence. That sounds like a thing that happened.
Significant.
Before. Yeah, it kind of does seem like it's an important thing. Like, did they get absolutely fucking wrecked at Draculan? Did that happen?
The thing is, like it is also the exact kind of argument people would make for the RMR, where it's like, show up to one event, have good results, you should be at the major. It's the exact same kind of argument.
It's the same test of fans, though, right? It's like people keep saying, I keep seeing it on the forums, is that people prefer VRS, like it's a global ranking for like the top 5 teams, because they always think it's more accurate. And in reality, it's just because VRS looks at like the last 2 weeks and puts Fury at number 1 for 6 hours. And it's like, it's so much better than HLTV ranking. It's like, no.
Hey,
you're just looking.
Name our Instagram post out of that. So
yes.
Yeah,
I assume he didn't check 6 hours later, and it was gone.
That is crazy that people are upvoting that. I mean,
okay, we have another one by Non-Toxic with a Romanian flag.
Okay.
That says, just make it global top 32 and stop letting minor regions into CS when they don't deserve the slot.
What? No, but hang on. Like, what does he mean by that? Can you explain that to me?
He's saying to eliminate the regional assignments. You know how you invite
right.
So he's saying just invite all the top 32 teams by global VRS and ignore all the regional things.
You know what? Yes. Update. I'm an update, sir. I'm about that.
I think there's one issue with
how
that.
come, Richard? Let's but before you say, Harry, what's the reasoning?
Oh, me? What's my reasoning?
Yeah,
oh, right.
Yeah.
I look. Again, I'm an old head. I've been around a long time, followed a lot of esports, right? And it's like, I remember when we used to have this whole argument about how do we get more Americans, because it's always Americans. How do we get more Americans into tournaments in StarCraft 2, right? Like, how do we do it, right? Like, we created a system that essentially precipitated the demise of that as an esport, although there were many other factors, of course, because we didn't want the 32 best Koreans at every event. Which, by the way, if you like StarCraft 2, I kind of do want that. Right, it's good for me. Like, I don't really care. Oh wow, they don't give us interesting interviews. Don't care. Do they play rad StarCraft? Yeah, okay, cool. That's kind of how I always felt about it. And again, it's this like almost like you're either an elitist or you ain't. And I just think when it comes to world championships and prestige, like elitism has to be baked into it. So look, if I understand Valve conceptually view the major as being something for everyone all around the world. I don't think they would ever agree to just having a top 32 ranking, because obviously it would be heavily stilted towards Europe and the CIS/Russia region, and Ukraine would be heavily stilted towards that. And you wouldn't see much else. You would probably see Furia, maybe Mongols, everyone else would kind of be left in the dust probably. And obviously it would make it even harder for North America. North America would not be included in that, and they wouldn't even get close. So I understand why Valve wouldn't want to do that. But if you want a really good major, like an incredible, like, all killer, no filler major, that's what you would do. But so I'm just saying he can have an update. That's all.
Harry, what were you going to say?
My only challenge to it would be, I won't bring up the vids, but there's a really cool tweet that Mischief did. It was like visualizing. Actually, I think I can bring it up quickly.
Yeah, go on. It's all good.
I'll bring it up. It's this basically. I don't know how well you can even see it, but it's basically visualizing every single match in the VRS, and it basically shows that each bubble, like each kind of cluster of dots, is kind of its own scene. So, like, if you're an Australian team,
you want to break down the colors just since it's small?
Yeah, because it's tiny. So green is Asia, darker green is Australia, Oceania, red's America, and blue is Europe, basically. So it's basically showing the VRS is like all the matches of Europe, because they have all the CCTs and all the other different tournaments. And what this basically means, at least how I've heard Mischief explain it, who understands VRS much better than I do, is that global VRS is basically not a real thing in the way that Valve think about it.
Right.
Because the teams don't play each other enough, and it's so based on opponent network and everything like that, that global VRS, like, we shouldn't really be using it at all. It's there because people demanded it, basically. But the points aren't really relative to each other. The points are relative to who you're playing against. So it makes sense to have like a top 20 global VRS because they're playing each other all the time. That's that kind of orange in the middle is the top 20 teams. So if you wanted to have a global system, I think you would have to redesign elements of the VRS, is all I'd say. But in theory, yes, if I get your point. If you want to be an elitist, have the best 32 teams, I think even people who want the regional things wouldn't say that the best 32 teams is the same as the 32 teams that we get on a regional model, basically.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I mean, look, I like it because, I mean, one of the things I've really enjoyed lately, and again, when you've watched as much Counter-Strike as I have and been around for as long as I have, you do find yourself, in some moments going, oh, fucking hell, I just want this to be over so we can get to this, But one of the things that's really interested me and I've been enjoying is like, the rise of the Chinese teams. It's a region that really has an appetite, for the game now in a way that it didn't have in the past. And even if it is a region that is replete with problems, match fixing, especially, like we just had a big match fixing scandal in China that nobody talked about again because China, forget about it, Jake. But the teams are playing like really good Counter-Strike, and I think they've got it. In terms of like, we do need to have like an accessibility to the European fan base. We need to be out there, and we saw that in Austin, right? Where we're doing, we've got players whose English isn't the best, but they're trying and they're doing interviews and they're going on other foreign language streams and trying to create these viral moments, and they're talking about their personal lives and their journey, and everybody really vibed with it, man. Like they came out. Like the respect for the Chinese teams and the fan base, it just like it exploded, for almost the entirety of Austin. all of those players were like probably some of the most talked about players at the World Championship just because they engaged. So that's been really cool for me. Like I obviously, doing the Asia Championships in a few days. Well, flying out tomorrow at the time of recording this. Just looking forward to seeing Tyloo, man. Like Tyloo and Linvision are going to be there. It's just going to be cool, man. So, like, that's where I'm
flying out to Bucharest, to be clear, not to China.
Yeah, obviously. I want to make it clear to all the people who've been messaging me, calling me a sellout, right? I work for PGL. That's what I'm doing. I work for PGL as a freelancer. They say we're doing an English broadcast. They want someone to sit in the chair and direct the English broadcast. So I go there. I am being paid by PGL. I am working for PGL. I am in Romania. I am in the beautiful city of Bucharest. That's where I'm at, right? So haven't gone to China yet, haters. You can stop with that. Don't think I will. Don't think it would be sensible.
Just on the topic of Asian teams having this rise as well. I mean, even at the Austin Major, we had like Chinggis Warriors. Not that they got some insane wins or anything, but the way they were playing was actually pretty good. I think they went 1-3 in the end, but the matches they played were still like relatively competitive. You had like Controls kind of making a name for himself, and Counter-Strike in Mongolia is now also huge. Like you go there. I think Prof was there for Misa, and he was saying that like you see it on like TVs everywhere. Like the bartender in their hotel was a huge CS fan. He was like putting up CS matches on the hotel there. It's just generally like really blown up.
The boys that went out there for that Cinematic championships, the one that I think didn't pay anyone. I can't remember if that's true. It's hard to keep up with all the tournaments not paying people again. Welcome back to the Wild West. But anyway, those guys that went out there, and they invited me, and I had to decline because we were doing the Astana event, and I was worried that if we got stuck in Ulaanbaatar, fucking how the fuck do I get to Kazakhstan? I was like even looking at like all emergency contingencies. There was like one train that took like days, and it like went through Russia, and I was like, this is bad. So anyway,
vans.
Yeah, the guys who did go out there, they said everywhere they went, the Mongolian fans knew them from the English broadcast, which is crazy because usually when you go, I mean, like I walked around Astana, I got recognized at once. Like because they know the Russian speaking, guys, and so we assumed it would be the same for the Mongolian fans, but absolutely not. Every bar they went into, people were buying them drinks, selfies, autographs, but like not in an overbearing way, like just like, oh, is it okay, kind of thing. And they everywhere they went, the hospitality was through the roof, like free bar, free drinks, free meals, like. Sounded like a rad time. It's a shame nobody got paid. It would have been the perfect event otherwise. So.
Oh, at least they got free food, I guess.
Yeah, true.
Just it's all esports needs, just more free drinks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I don't know if it's a surprise to everyone, but it turns out there are some of the young lads, they do like to go out and have a drink. Historically, I used to be among them. I'm old now, so I'm retired from that. Here I am having a mint tea. On a podcast. I'm a sensible man now.
Okay, so next we have a quick one. I don't even know if we're going to talk about this one much, but it's by HLUTV _veteran with a Nepal flag.
All right, good.
That just says so many garbage teams with 2 upvotes.
So many garbage teams. I mean, look, this is an unfortunate reality of expanding to 32. Like, we all just went through Austin, right? Like, I defy anyone to say the first week of that major was good.
Well, you've got to remember is that for stage 1 and stage 2, they send me and Jan, and then Note just turns up for stage 3, and it's the real major. So,
yeah, exactly.
So he loves it. It's me
not
sitting
for
there
this next
filming.
Major, not me.
Yeah, the best moment of the major for me was when Carrigan turned up, beat Heroic day 1, and shouted, "This is the real major now." And I'm just like, okay, because we just sat through like 5 days of best of ones of literally. Like, the only thing fun happening was G, and that was it.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much, right? Like, I think, you've got to kind of engage with it for what it is. It's like when you watch a World Cup and you have the group stage matches. Like, every World Cup is the same for me. I watch every game, right? I watch every game of the World Cup. It's like a little holiday, where you've got 3 games of football on almost every day. 2 on some days, and then the playoffs come, and then every game is super significant and engaging. But I remember, wait, like North Korea are playing in a World Cup, like fuck yeah, I want to see this shit. Like, I'm there for that, you know? Like, fucking all the African nations you don't see, like, oh, Angola are playing. Okay, cool. I'm there. So you have to kind of treat it like that mentally. Like, you're going to see some shit, you know? You're going to see some real bad stuff, you know? But it's part of the charm. And again, if you're the people that support the RMRs were worse. The RMRs were way worse than week one of this major. And this week one of this major was bad, and everyone acknowledged it was bad. So, again, it's just another win for the VRS supporters, man. By the way, I also
you
like
think
on
you'd have
that
the highest viewership.
On that meme. Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, it's good for Owner Pixel because he gets to scream VAS a lot, right? But on that meme you had at the start as well, is Nell getting buried at the tomb of the unknown soldier? Who's that? That's a
I think
really
Nell's trying to defend the
yeah,
RMRs.
that's what I'm saying. He's obviously
bring it
lost
back.
and he's dead and he's anonymous. That was a really high level joke, but whatever.
Yeah, we're getting there. I think we can bring it back.
You
up.
have to play
you
have to play the room you dealt, I guess. I thought that was really good, but fine.
Wow.
I have one that I think this comment might have been written for you, Richard.
Okay.
I think you're going to really enjoy this one.
Cool.
First of all, it's by Mewtuber with the US flag.
Nice. Good start.
Great
Solid.
start already. And then the comment says, I played in a tournament that NRG signed up for. They win these. Hopefully the level of competition is also FaZe at level 4 to 10 and not professional players.
That's Maui Snake Salt.
Those are the burners.
Yeah, he's on the burner, bro. No, that's fucking funny, dude. That's actually that's an update from me. I like the problem you've got, unfortunately, is that the level overall in NA is very, 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 very bad. I know we've had this like fucking no cries thing happening as well, and kind of that like reinforces the point. In my opinion, it's just where we're at with it, and it's like, yeah, I do think, unfortunately, NRG, again, an org that I like and I have a lot of respect for, and I think they've always tried to do things the right way, but like of late, like their recruitment is baffling to me. Exotic, for instance, like it's just a big no. I just wouldn't have bothered at all. If Bro can go and be a standout player in NA, I mean, like,
the fact that they got Exotic to land, though,
I mean that's something, isn't it? Right? Like, but I mean, you know, but by this point, like, why would anybody invest time and effort and energy into this guy? Like, you know, he's been a scourge of NA. Like, he's cost so many people like reputational harm because people have vouched for him, you know, fucking dodging lands, doing all this bullshit. It's like, listen, maybe he had his reasons. Maybe there's something like we don't know about, but it's like, just on the surface, it kind of rewarding him for, you know, some of his past shenanigans just feels like bad. But then it's like I say, I mean, I think the bigger indictment is like, you know, their best player for a while was Bro. I think he's like had a bit of a slump now, but like Sonic is immediately like slotted in. He's just crushing people for them, and it's like, well, you know what I mean? Like,
it's even wildcard. They've got Fiku in connector. Like, Fiku is playing A connector on Mirage, and this team was good like a year ago. I thought. I mean, not because of the. It has Stan and Java are fun, but yeah. My God,
I'll say this: the Fragadelphia win is big. By the way, I don't want to be disparaging like entirely about NRG. I think, like, you know, what the like getting a win over Nip. I know they had a stand-in and everything, but like I think that's, you know, I think that's big for the program for them. So don't want to just be don't want to just be all fucking negative, you know.
I was gonna say as well, though, like, not to be the NA defender as the representative on this podcast, but NA was really bad for a while. I think in the last year or so, there has been like noticeable improvement in the semi-pro scene, in the sense of like it's a very big hole to climb out of. Yeah. So it's not like they're suddenly good, but there has actually been players who are starting to play the game properly and actually putting in the work. So just on that sense, it's not it's not as bad as it used to be, and I think there is some signs of promise. It's just we clawed ourselves so far into a hole that it's going to take a while to even climb up anywhere past that.
Yeah, and you cannot build an NA5 anymore. Like, that just doesn't. That will never happen for years and years and years. That's like, you know, it has to be, 3 Americans being helped out by 2 Europeans. That's the only way an NA team can function. And that's just a sign of the times. Yeah, M80 are nearly in the top 20 again, so that's good.
Yeah,
that's good news.
There has been some talent.
I like M80, Good.
But I think without Lake, without Lake of the Germans, I think they'd drop very fast.
Oh, sure. I mean,
yes.
Look, Hext is a criminal. He's his level of play baffles me sometimes, but but Lake is one of those players where it's like, I'm actually glad he didn't get airlifted, because I think he might have been on Complexity's radar at one point, and obviously with everything that happened with that team and it kind of collapsing, that would have been a bad move for him and his development. So I'm kind of glad that he didn't get picked up by anyone else, and he's kind of like plugging away on M80 and continuing to develop and understand what it is to like have to carry games and stuff. And maybe play with players that don't make optimal decisions around you, and how to kind of like metabolize that attitude wise. But now I think he's definitely, we're going to get to the end of the year, and then probably Lake will get lifted to another team. I mean, I don't see why Liquid couldn't give him a chance.
I just hope his contract is better than the one that I heard he was on, because
it almost certainly isn't.
Yeah. Hopefully,
I mean that's just the reality, unfortunately. Like, but good for him as well for like not kicking up a stink. Very often like players who are on like junior level contracts, if they play well, they definitely want big money. Maybe sometimes a bit too soon. So like I said, I think he's a cool kid. I think he's gonna do. Like I say, I think Liquid should give him a roll of the dice. Like, there's definitely roster moves you can make on Liquid, and if they want to invest in NA, which isn't clear that they do, but if they do want to do that, then this is the guy to get. So,
I feel like with Elige now that they probably wouldn't, but
also a good thing to dodge.
We'll see.
A developing player. Yeah, I'm sure. Like, if Lake does get an offer from Team Liquid, just call Grim first and ask him how his time on Liquid was.
Okay, as we get to the end, there's also we have Shays with a Portuguese flag, who's a fan of Saw, that says no Saw and no Gentlemates. What a boring major.
I mean, listen, regional love, I fuck with it, so that's fine.
I just like how they've written off the entire major because 2 teams are missing.
Yeah, you can watch the Nations Cup next summer. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. You'll get to see lots of people there. And at the now newly expanded EWC, which mysteriously expanded over an event that wasn't Blast or ESL. Yeah, I think good for them. I actually like. It's like on the Reddit Discord, there's like a bunch of like real hardcore, like regional fans, and they are like, it's not a bit. They genuinely give a shit, and they pull out like all these like translations from interviews, social media links, like relevant like results for like you just wouldn't even know because you didn't watch the tournament because it was like some tiny thing that was happening over here. And they're super useful. Like, they're very helpful for like, people like me and in the analysts and stuff. And there's a bunch of like super fans for like China, super fans for Mongolia. So it's like really cool. So I like it when people go hard in the paint for regional representation. So does Launders, by the way. Still rocking the racist meme. Well, I can't believe he's getting away with it. He can't keep getting away with it, but he is.
I mean, if you say anything, then you're the racist.
Exactly.
He's
Uno'd me. That's that.
And last comment is from Henpai with a Fiji flag, who's a fan of HWML, and if you don't know what that team is, it's an old NA team that stands for Hentai Weeaboo Master.
I remember them. They were, without getting too much into it, they were, let's say, adjacent to an investigation I was doing.
Correct. And it says, the worst system ever devised, hope it gets cancelled as a DPC in Dota.
I mean, it's an opinion.
Yeah.
So
I think again, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about for the whole show, is that I think people are just in love with what the RMRs used to be, and they don't understand that the system is just an overall upgrade. And I think as we have it more understood by other teams as they go forward, it's going to really, it's just going to make the majors better.
the RMRs weren't ever what people say they are, which is why I'm always dubious about how much of the RMRs people actually watched and engaged with. The RMRs essentially are remembered for a few fluke results. Generally speaking, for the people that are invested in the scene and the wider scene and the scene being good and people who work in the industry, we all hated the RMRs. We all hated the RMRs because it was best of ones, the format sucked, it created, the seeding was like some arcane work of irrelevancy where somehow shit teams could dodge world champion, like not have to play any of the top seeds, and yet top seeds would get reseeded against each other based on best of ones that had only just happened. It seemed to be a nightmare. And yeah, there have been some great moments as a result of the RMR. I remember when G2 didn't go, they didn't get in, and I remember I was streaming it, and I remember screaming, "Get the fuck out my major," etc., all of that stuff. You know, it was, and then I got to like be right for a week. It was great. You know, but like. In general, the RMRs were fucking shit, man. Like, they just sucked. And, like, VRS is definitely throwing up some sucky and shit moments, too, but nowhere near as frequent. It's just a much better sifting system. And I hope Valve, messioso, continue to fine-tune it. Because, obviously, it's got potential to be the best qualification system we've ever had. It just needs a bit more tinkering to get there.
Yeah. The underdogs are there. They're just the good ones now.
Yeah.
That's kind of it.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts from you, Harry?
No, just that one. I think I agree completely. I think it's better than what it was before, and that is the point of a qualification system.
All right. Richard, I want to thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Any parting words you wanted to leave us with?
No, just good to see you all again. I've been kind of aloof the past few months. I've just been like chilling, and we're back to the meat of the season now, back to the grind. So no doubt I'll see you on the road. Looking forward to that when that does occur. Have fun covering the continued Saudi takeover of Counter-Strike. Godspeed to you all, brave journalists. So yeah, you know, it was nice to talk Counter-Strike. It's always something I'll say yes to.